Is there anything else you'd like to sort of say? If not about this film, just generally about film. What is making short films like in 2023 with the economic situation we've got at the moment, where people are struggling to pay heating bills and food and everything else? Has it got harder, do you think, in your opinion?
Uh, I think it has gotten a bit harder, obviously, when you're trying to go down a more professional route and pay for things to the best of your budget. The cost of things have gone up, and it really comes down to relying on people to be kind and give a bit of a discount or just support in any way, shape, or form. Like maybe your mum has to do the catering, which I haven't told my mum yet, but I'll pass it by her. But if you want to make a film and this time of year or this time in the world's self-destructing, apocalypse, there's never a great time to make films. So if you want to make a film, just don't sit around waiting for someone to give you permission. You've got to go for it. And it's very worthwhile digging deep and mining that personal trauma or whatever, like something that's near and dear to your heart, because I think people can tell the difference when you're just wanting, oh, I'm just making a film, to something that's like, no, this really means a lot to me. I think people understand and are more willing to help out when they know that you've got personal stakes in it.
Yeah, 100%. And not only that, it's just still, I probably said this 2 years ago when we first spoke and did one of these. The amount of mediocre films that managed to be made, managed to get funding, for large sums of money. We're talking about feature films, whether they're huge budget feature films or just a couple of million. The amount of dross and just mediocre stories, mediocre films. I think anything that's actually heartfelt, anything that's actually meaningful and different is so needed now. It needs to be seen, and needs to be made. What's film making like in Scotland again at the moment? Is it in a good place, do you think?
It's been there's been a real production boom over the last couple of years, making up for all that time off during first lockdown. So it's difficult in terms of like securing cast and crew, maybe a little bit more than it was before, but I think we're still in a really good position. We have like great talent up here that's I want to showcase. It isn't just our beautiful vistas, it's the crew behind the camera as much as it is the people in front of it. And I think we've got that in spades if we can get people that we want, the ones that we want in between jobs, and just be like, I'll just steal you for a weekend.
Yeah. Is it because that so much is being produced that they're booked up? Is that what you're saying? As in, like the people that are based in Scotland, be it in front of the camera or behind, they're attached to lots of projects, and it's hard to get hold of them?
Yes. People tend to go a lot from project to project. I think this is the first time in a couple of years that the winter lull has actually happened. Because I know myself, I was working on Batgirl during COVID, this time last year, and it was very rare for me to be working in January,
Right.
So we're kind of getting back onto an even keel, but it's still like it's busy up here, as I'm sure it is like across England as well. And I always say the less stuff shot in London, the better, because
100%.
the industry doesn't need to exist in that one place anymore. Like
Yeah.
they can branch out.
Yeah. It can do and it needs to, right? Not only because it'll make a nice change of scenery and backdrop, not to be shot in and London and the same streets and the same skyline. But also when you I've noted British cinema, and one of the reasons why I've always wanted to do the film dimension and want to get more British films, both features and shorts on, is when you go a little bit further out of, say, London, and that's not only do you meet a different kind of person, but different kind of filmmaker that tell different stories that either would not be made if you're centering in London, or just would not be entertained. You know, that you can make a film in Manchester or Newcastle, and it would have a different feel about it. You know, because if it didn't, then what's the point of making it? You might as well make it in London or Los Angeles. Do you know what I mean? It's like if you're using a different thing, a different scenery, a different street, a different accent, a different mindset. No, I'm saying that people in Newcastle are like think dramatically different from say London, but just the flow and the sort of the magic of the place. Do you know what I mean? That you can tell different types of stories, and I think the British cinema needs to embrace that even more. Certainly, the mainstream stuff, the indie people do, you know, but yeah, it hasn't quite seeped onto the television or the bigger budget stuff, but hopefully it will.
Oh,
Last,
definitely.
yeah, last question before I go, or before I let you go. Again, as a female filmmaker in 2023, how are things? Is it getting better? Is it getting worse? Is it staying the same?
I think improvement has been made. I know that in the UK, in the British genre, female filmmakers are on the rise, which is always fantastic. And the fact that there is more diversification, and it isn't necessarily just BFI wanting to like check boxes, because there's going to be some institutes that are always going to want to do that, but just genuine, authentic storytelling is really coming into the fold now. I think the audience can tell, you know, we're fed up of like, oh, this tragic story of just being a woman or having a disability, or just anything that isn't the norm of like cis white male man. It's just, I think it's being embraced more in a very genuine and authentic way, and we need more stories like this in general. So I'm confident that our influence is growing and we're getting more chances.
Sure. I mean, that's a good sum up, and that's a good state, I guess. Very last question. I know I just said last question, but it just prompted me to sort of say, if you could sort of give me a one word or one sentence answer, how does one make better films? Is it better stories?
I'd say story is king. Don't try and make something that other people want to see, or what you think other people want to see. Make the stories that you want to see, and you'll be surprised how many other people feel the same.
That's a very good answer. I like that. Thank you very much for talking with me. I really
No, thank
appreciate it.
you.